we pretty much commandeered this road in this development here. But here's our product. Some gravel, some boulders, aquascape supplies, some traction mats for cut the grass, truck and job trailer, excavator. So this backyard's never gonna be the same. Fueling up the machines, unloading the other one. How'd that feel? So what we're doing today is we are replacing this skimmer box with a new, updated, better design, replacing the biofalls up there. Likewise, better design, and we're dismantling this entire section here, this stream, and we're redoing this. There's some problems here, which is why it's not working well. First off, I tried to seal the liner to the back of the boulder, this waterfall spillway rock, which is never gonna work long term. The liner needs to go underneath everything and overlap into the pond. So we're gonna resolve that. Basically, this whole section just comes out. We'll get pieced back together. The pond, we're just kind of redoing some of the rock work up there along the top edge, and the rest stays intact. And we're also fixing that offset. That's one solid, massive piece of natural stone. It's all a 6-inch thick slab of stone. So we'll see if we can raise that to level that with the rest of the sidewalk. Woohoo! That's our rocks, people. Now, last rocks of the job. Okay, we officially have all of our product in place back here. So hopefully we're done going across this impeccable yard. Like, there is not a blade out of place. So we're trying to be careful and create as little impact as possible and have an amazing before and after here. I'm excited for this before and after, because even like, we're not, as I already described what we're doing, we're not going to completely redo this whole pond, but we are going to show you what we can do just by tweaking a few little things. So it'll make a pretty big impact. Okay, so I think the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to pull out the skimmer, dig a trench in for that line up there, get the line installed up there, and we're going to rip that out right there and start shaping the stream bed for our new stream. Yeah. I'm just feeling a little off today. I'm going to drink some more coffee. What you got there? Ew.
I think there's some fish in here.
Let's just say these fish were living in less than ideal conditions. Don't worry, fishies. We're getting you a new home.
Come here.
Beautiful. Let me just go over a few things here that were wrong with the construction of this project, this original pond. I'll start by saying what was done wrong, and then what we're gonna do to make it right. And this stuff's all subjective. It's kind of like painting a picture. Some people have different ways of doing that. But basically, the reason this looks very man-made and not super natural is we basically have a stacked slate wall through here, which is not natural. And then we have this massive slab of rock, which is actually put in there more stable and level than a lot of people that try to build a water feature. But one of the most common mistakes we see when people are building water features, like they're, beginning to build water features and they want to build like a nice sheet waterfall into the pond, they take the biggest rock they had, quiet. That thing has an attitude. They take the biggest rock they have and use that as the kind of the sheer rock, and everything else around it is just really tiny, little, insignificant. What you need though is the concept that nature, water takes the path of least resistance. So it goes in between all the crevices and cracks in the mountains, and that's what creates like natural looking streams and waterfalls. I mean, it's in nature. So what we do to replicate that is, let's just imagine that this spillway rock stays right there. But instead of stacking all this little stuff around it, we're gonna put in a nice big framing boulder on each side in front of the rock. So now there's going to be like a framing boulder, and so the leading edge of this rock here is recessed, back in from the face. Like the framing boulder is probably going to be out here, and the leading edge of the waterfall is recessed way back in. So now it looks like water just kind of carved its way back in between the framing boulders that we're going to set. I'm speaking of imaginary things here. You'll see it come together once we start building this, but that's just a basic principle that you see on a lot of DIY or less experienced type water feature builds.
Someone has been working really hard to try to keep this, there's a frog, try to keep this water from going down in behind this waterfall rock. Took a little strip here, metal, bored out some holes, put in some holders for the tap cons, drilled it on there, put some silicone in there. Good effort.
Is it gonna work?
Highly unlikely, but
even if it worked in the beginning, it's not gonna work for very long.
No.
So that's the thing, like people go to a lot of effort and try really hard and do a lot of hard work.
The right way is actually a lot
easier. The right way is a lot easier, tons easier. So instead of all this like stuff going on here, all that needs to happen is this liner to go underneath this spillway rock and overlap into the pond. Done. All right, 30 seconds later, here's another thing we want to show you. So we're not doing this to make fun of people, we're just doing this to try to save you from going to all this extra unnecessary work. This liner was laid over like that to create a, as a berm. Underneath that, somebody really worked so, they went to some extra steps there. Laid some brick underneath that. What all they needed to do was to build this up with nice dirt, bring that dirt right in, lay this liner back, and you have your berm. Wow. So in 13 years of building ponds, I've never quite seen something that looks like this. Now I might be exposing myself as a noob here, but what is that? Priming device of some sort? And that pipe runs through a bulkhead, through the liner, inside the pond, all the way out in the center of the pond. Well, I figured out what it is. It's a valve. Opens and shuts. Apparently it was somebody's version of installing a bottom drain into the pond. Okay, I just got done pulling out the skimmer box, the old skimmer box out of that hole, and dismantling that unnecessary bottom drain and the hole with the water. This is the hole where the faceplate of that old skimmer was attached to. So here's the old skimmer. It's kind of a less than ideal design, and this is the new one we're putting in. There's a lot of thought and design that has gone into these, improvement over the years, so just pulling out some parts. But the best thing about this thing is that you have a removable basket that comes out, and you can knock out the leaves and the debris that gets sucked into the skimmer very easily, and it doesn't fail like a net would or anything like that. So we're going to plop this in and get a better skimming design on this pond. Let's hope my battery doesn't die, but here you can see kind of the excavation was dug out kind of like a cereal bowl, so it's all rounded, which get until it down at the bottom. Down at the bottom it's flat, which gives you no stable surface to place your rock on, which is why all this rock is just falling down into the center of the pond. So we did not get the privilege of redoing this whole pond, so what we're doing to kind of try to make it better without getting into redoing the whole pond is we're just building rock walls where it is flat, where it is stable. We're going to fill in gravel behind those rock walls so we have a level surface, and then on top of that level surface build the next wall up, so we'll be able to get it somewhat okay, even though we don't actually rip the liner out and re-excavate. Normally we'd excavate, a vertical wall, horizontal level, vertical wall, horizontal level, and that would give you that stable surface to set all your rock on. Call on end of day one. Day one is a wrap. Today we successfully jacked up this massive stone bridge. I'm guessing the thing weighs over 3 tons, but we had a 12-ton hydraulic jack and we were able to jack it up and shim it up. It was sunk like 1.5 inches low. The new skimmer's installed over there. Ben made some pretty good progress on redoing the rock work here in the pond. Finish that up tomorrow. And then Monday, plan is to do that stream and hopefully pull a wrap up on Monday. We'll see how it goes. Monday morning, Ben and Gary were up here, pretty much got all the pond rocked in. Basically, we stacked walls of rock around here, back there with gravel, so we had a level shelf, and then stacked other walls of rock inside, so we kind of still get the shelved result, even though the pond is excavated like a soup bowl. But anyway, Ben did a great job here. Today we got this stream and biofalls to finish up and call it a wrap. Notice my nice clean new camera lens.
Yeah, see that.
Notice that. Let's talk a little bit about this waterfall construction over here. So Ben, is this your 4th season? So you're probably getting to the point where you probably saw close to 100 water features go in. He has some experience, and he got finished with the pond here, and so he said, go ahead and start on the waterfall, you know? So this is what he got pulled together, and we were texting and sending pictures back and forth. Usually, I don't know, can't help it, but usually I guess I kind of like micromanage the waterfall building process. Try not to, but it happens by default.
No one really minds.
Here, pull that bucket away and we'll talk about this a little bit. We're trying to build a waterfall with an existing rock that the homeowner had here. It's that one right there. It's like a nice big flat rock, and they want to use this same rock as the spillway rock. So you know what it looked like before, but that's not cool. So what we're doing is we're using frame rock and all that to make it look natural, like what we like to do. But I like to break up water features so that the waterfalls, so they're not just like a big, nice clean sheet. Looks too clean, doesn't look natural enough. So what Ben and I were talking about before I left on Thursday was like, hey, let's use this rock right here. It's got this natural bowl dish, and we'll kind of use it in such a way to break up that clean sheet from that boulder. So this is what Ben had set. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna explain to you what I'm gonna change about what Ben said here and why. And it's just all learning experience. Like, this is just, waterfall building is kind of subjective. One guy has a specific style, another guy's another style. There's nothing really wrong with this. It's just that it's different than what I would do, and I'll show you why. So we want that sheet of waterfall to come landing right in here in this bowl. But that waterfall sheet is already gonna be facing, that way. And you see this edge is facing the exact same way, which I want to create more interest, and I want to kick water to the side and get like that lateral motion. So what we have to do is pick this boulder up and spin it so that this leading edge is actually like facing that way. So the water will land down in it and get kicked over to the side. And then once that's in place, the other thing that I would notice here is that this is a bit too wide. This is almost 24 inches, maybe 20. It's a bit too wide for the water flow we have. So I'm gonna tighten that up so there's only maybe 10 inches between these two boulders, because up here at the top, by the time we get a right frame rock put over here, we're gonna have 24 plus inch clean sheet break up here, and I want it to kind of channel together into kind of a gushing, like a gusher toward the bottom. So to achieve that, though, we have to start off pretty tight at the bottom. These first couple rocks we're setting. So 2 things. Just turn this thing, tighten this up a little bit, and then we'll continue on with what you were doing. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have more experience, so it's easier for you to envision what it's going to look like. The difference is you can envision this is going to be too wide. I measured that rock, and the spillway I wanted was, the rock's much wider, but the spillway I wanted was like 30 inches, so I figured I'd go 20 here, and that is neck down, but I see what you're saying.
We could, if we had 10,000 gallons of water, 10,000 gallons an hour of water, we could use that whole rock, but that rock's too, we can't use the whole width.
No,
it's not gonna.
No,
so
I wasn't planning on.
Right.
That one side, if you look right here,
we have more like
I
7,000.
thought we could use this.
Right. Yeah.
But that is 30 inches.
Close. So, but to get that, to achieve that that neck down gushing look that we want, we're gonna have to go down to like 10 inches at the bottom, 10 to 12.
See, yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
You can envision that better than I can.
Well, the difference is when you see them go together, hundreds and maybe even thousands of times, you start to realize, okay, to achieve that end vision, which both of you had, both of us had in the beginning, you maybe just have a bit of a better perspective of what you have to make boulder 1 and 2 do to achieve the look at boulder 3 and 4 and 5. So that's the only difference, and yeah, just comes with time. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. So right now I'm a little bit worried about this boulder here. I don't want the bottom of that boulder to be visible above water level. It just makes it look stacked and unnatural. So I'm gonna get the laser and shoot it, and if it's too high, that's the height we need. So we can't lower it any, because we need that height. If it's not low enough to get underneath water level, we'll just pick another boulder. guys remember how that liner, this is the streamliner right here. If you guys remember, they had Tapcon and silicone that streamliner to the back of this waterfall spillway rock the whole way along the back. So just brought that liner up and sealed it to the back of this rock. But the problem is it's never gonna hold. It's never gonna seal properly. So this is what we do. That's what you do to do it the right way. This is the pond liner. The streamliner just overlaps down into the pond liner, but the pond liner is higher than the water level down in the pond here below. So the water just, then we'll take a foam gun and seal all this off with a foam gun so that the water does go over top, but whatever does leak through the foam, you know, 1 or 2% of the water flow just ends up right down in here in the pond because the liner just overlaps right down inside the pond. So that gives you a leak-proof, properly built, will last that way for decades. And there we go. So now water is going to break off of this. Half of it's going to crash into this. It's going to kick over to the side. Gives it a lot more interest than, let me throw out the before shot. That higher than it should be, you know, framing rock, man-made looking. Now this probably still looks man-made, but when we're done, let's just say it's going to look better. I think so. I mean, let me know down in the comments. It might not be. I have insecurity issues. Right, we have all the rock in place here for this first waterfall. Time to do the fun part. Film this thing up. Now this is how we seal it from the liner to the boulder so that the water all runs over top. That seals it all up. Water will pull up behind here and flow right over the top. Lunch break is over. Waterfall is set. We are ready to flip that liner back and start building a waterfall. But before we do that, what do we got, Ben?
This is a big moment for me. This, guys, is the mother of all frogs.
Wow.
And I am very excited to do this. We're going to be releasing him back to its natural home.
That is crazy.
Are you ready for this, guys? Here we go, guys. It's a little chilly for him. Ooh. Just look at that thing. Whoa, look at him go.
Hi.
What a massive, that thing's the size of a muskrat.
He's pretty nimble for how cold it is.
Look at him swim there.
He thinks he's hiding.
That's officially the best part of my day.
Yeah.
Yep.
The best part of my day is going to be when we plug this baby in. What do you know? Just like that, it's 4 o'clock and we're putting fish back in. What you got, Ben?
Some fish.
Nice. All ready to move into their new 5-star resort. There. Okay, let's go plug it in. All right, go up there and point that thing down here and turn it on. There you go. You just turned it on. Come on. That's not gonna work. I'm gonna go get something to fix that. Much better. Brand new skimmer. Look at that. Yes, look at that skimming action. We already got, ooh, that guy went away. That already had a frog in there. We were able to jack this massive stone slab up and get that level with the sidewalk. That thing had sunk down about 1.5 inches there on that end. That is one serious slab of stone. And then, looky here. How about this for a nice little waterfall? What do you think? I love it. Folks, that's a wrap. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Hit that like button if you like the new transformation from before and after. Catch you around later. We're heading back to the shop.